Yo, what's going on everybody, and welcome to my channel. This is actually going to be my first video on this channel, so make sure you go down in the comments and leave any tips or suggestions for me. But without further ado, let's just hop right into the video. So with the Super Bowl just around the corner, it's almost that time of the year where football season comes to a close, which also means that we're going to end up seeing a lot more mock drafts coming out, especially from all the analysis from ESPN and all the other big time medias. So I thought, why not make one myself? This will be my first mock draft that I come out with. I'm actually very happy with it, and it does include trades. Personally, I don't think the Lions are going to end up picking at pick 6, but we'll see what happens. But starting off, just looking at the Detroit Lions, and what a season they had. Probably one of the most exciting seasons that we've seen from the Detroit Lions in quite a long time. It was just really exciting to see, the progression from the start of the year to the end of the year, the development of, the young guys, and just the progress that the team made. However, there are still a few holes that the team needs to cover up, especially on the defensive side. So that's the main area that I think the Detroit Lions are going to be targeting in the draft. So let's get started. So looking at the Detroit Lions' first pick, which is the 6th pick of the draft, there's not really anyone that really pops out to you that you think the Lions need to take at pick 6. Guys like Tyree Wilson and Brian Brzee, Myles Murphy, those are all kind of guys that, maybe you could take them, but they're not really someone that the Lions really need. So right here is the 2023 NFL Draft Board, and as you can see, the Detroit Lions have the 6th pick from the LA Rams. And like I've said before, the Detroit Lions really don't have anyone that they need to take inside of the top 6. So in my opinion, I think the Detroit Lions should make a trade from the 6th pick and trade down. If you look at where I've circled on the NFL Draft Board, you can see that the Houston Texans do have the 12th pick that they got from the Deshaun Watson trade with Cleveland. And although I do see a team like the Carolina Panthers trading up so that they can try and take a quarterback, with one of the top picks, but a team like the Houston Texans, who are completely rebuilding right now, might want to have that extra top 6 pick that they can use in order to take a guy like a Myles Murphy or, improve the defense a little bit more. So I could definitely see a team like the Texans being interested in this trade. And this would also really benefit the Detroit Lions because you get to drop down 6 spots and still get one of the guys that you like, especially if you're targeting a cornerback. Corner and linebacker are probably the 2 biggest holes on this Detroit Lions defense, so I definitely think taking one there would definitely be the best decision. The Texans also have the most picks in the NFL draft this year, so I do think that it would be really smart because then we're going to get an additional, 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick, whatever. And that 2nd round pick, by the way, would be the 33rd pick of the draft, seeing how the Houston Texans had the 2nd worst record, so they would have the 2nd pick of the 2nd round. So if the Detroit Lions did make this trade, who would I have them taking? And the answer to that is Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon University. So in my next video, probably I'll end up kind of going into depth about this guy and, breaking down some of his film and highlights. So I'm going to try not to show too many highlights, even though it's really tempting because this guy's got some of the best highlights I've ever seen from a corner. Now, there are so many different corners that I would love to take at pick 12, and honestly, Christian Gonzalez wasn't at the top of the list for me at first, but after watching him and looking at his stats, this guy has everything it takes to be an NFL corner. He's a 6'2", 200-pound redshirt sophomore cornerback who transferred from Colorado last year, and he really has every quality that you would want in a cornerback. He's a hard hitter, a hard worker, he locks down receivers, he creates turnovers, and even though I need to watch a little more film, from the stuff that I've seen, he seems like he's very disciplined and doesn't really get a lot of penalties. But the thing that really jumps out to me is his speed. Now, say what you want about the Pac-12 and, how the competition isn't the best, but this guy locks down anyone that he plays against, including Jordan Addison, who, last I checked, is supposed to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. But when he's not making incredible hits and tackles, he's locking down his receiver and staying step for step with them every step of the way. Now, obviously, he has a lot that he can still improve on, but at the same time, that just makes this pick so much more exciting and more valuable. Putting up the numbers and stats that he did and not even being at his full potential is super impressive, and it shows that this guy could end up being one of the best in the NFL. He's got great size as well, and like I said before, there's a couple other guys that I wouldn't mind taking at this pick, but Christian Gonzalez is who I would go with. Now looking at the Detroit Lions' 2nd pick of the 1st round, which happens to be the 18th pick, and after filling the hole at cornerback, I have the Detroit Lions taking a linebacker with their 2nd pick of the 1st round. With the 18th pick, I have the Detroit Lions taking Trenton Simpson, linebacker out of Clemson University. And what really excites me about this guy is that although he is a true linebacker, you can throw him in at the edge and he will go and get you sacks. Now, watching this guy's film, the first thing that jumped out to me was this guy's speed. He is unbelievably fast for a linebacker. He is actually called the most versatile linebacker in the country and one of the most versatile defensive players in the country as well. So this guy is just super crazy athlete that can do anything you want. His stats might not necessarily jump out the screen at you, but 77 tackles is very impressive, especially for a college linebacker playing on a defense like Clemson. You've got guys like Brian Brzee and Miles Murphy you're playing with. So playing on a stacked defense like that, his stats probably aren't going to look that good anyway, but his stats to me actually look pretty well. He's got 2 forced fumbles as well. And you can see that this guy has it in him to be a really good linebacker in the NFL. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got everything you need. And honestly, I would really love this pick for the Detroit Lions. Pairing him up with Rodrigo and Anzalone and, even Derek Barnes, this guy would be awesome to have in that defense. He can also drop back in coverage, which is really nice. So if you have a tight end that's, going downfield, trying to get open, this guy can drop back on him. And look at this highlight right here, by the way. This is easily one of my favorite highlights I've seen. This just shows the crazy athleticism that this guy's going to bring and the crazy speed that he has. It's really impressive to me to watch as you watch this guy. He ends up beating the defensive lineman to the quarterback and ends up making the sack himself. And like I said before, you can also put him on the edge and he can get quarterback pressures, forced fumbles. I mean, look at this right here. Here's another forced fumble from him. And obviously, I'll be making another video soon, kind of breaking down the film of this guy so we can kind of get into more depth and, show more things of what he can do, what he's good at, maybe things that he needs to work on. But yeah, I would be so excited if we got this guy. He easily is the best linebacker, true linebacker at least, in the country. He's so fast and strong that it would just be a great addition to the team. I really don't know how far this guy will end up dropping. He could go anywhere from, 25 to all the way up to maybe even the top 10. So it's hard to say where we would be able to get this guy, but I just kind of thought, maybe pick 18, he'd be there. Looking at the rest of the draft, there's really not another linebacker out there. You could look at Drew Sanders, but again, he's kind of just like another Rodrigo in a way. I'd rather have a guy like this that can chase down quarterbacks. And by the way, there's a flag here. It's not on Simpson. It ends up being called a face mask on Drake May. But yeah, the only other linebacker I'd say that I really do like, that I would really love to get, would be Noah Sewell, who ends up being Penei Sewell's brother. And I've known that guy since last year, and he's really good, but I think this guy would definitely be a huge addition to the team. So given that the Detroit Lions make that trade with the Houston Texans, they would also end up probably getting the Houston Texans' second-round pick, which also just so happens to be the second pick of the second round. And with this pick, there's a lot of different directions that I could see the Detroit Lions going with, but there is one guy that I really do have in mind. Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama is easily my favorite player in this draft, and I would be so excited if we got this guy. One of the fastest guys in all of college football. This guy would be so fun to watch, and he actually kind of reminds me of someone who's already on the Lions. If you don't already see it, my comparison would be Jameson Williams. I mean, he looks just like him, he runs just like him, he plays just like him, except he's actually a running back. This guy he's just so good. I mean, watching his highlights it makes my day. It's so fun to watch how this guy runs. He's one of the shiftiest dudes I've ever seen. He's so quick. He has such a good first step. While he primarily played more of a receiving role for Alabama this year, this dude can take it from the gun and he can go. I mean, look at that right there. That nasty hesitation move. That was one of the nicest hezzies I've ever seen. What really stands out to me about this guy, I mean, there's a lot of different things, but I mean, things like that right there. Quick first step, he finds the hole and he just goes. The second he finds that hole, he bursts through it and he's gone. This right here is also one of my favorite highlights. The dude just breaks like 27 tackles and then almost gets into the end zone. Look at this right here. Completely just makes like 4 different guys fall over and then breaks a couple more tackles and then gets all the way down close to the 5-yard line. Now, I know the Detroit Lions already have DeAndre Swift and they have Jamal Williams, who will 99% likely get re-signed to some pretty good money. However, there's really no guarantee on Swift's future with the Detroit Lions. However, I mean, personally, I would really like to keep him. He's really good. Swift's amazing, but getting a guy like this would just add more depth to the backfield. And we're kind of getting this guy for free in a way. If you look at it, if you look at that Texans pick, we're going down 6 spots and we're still going to end up getting the guy that we want more than likely, specifically talking about a cornerback. So this guy's just kind of like another guy we can add on and put him in the backfield, give him some, receptions throughout the year, give him some nice runs, and he can get a lot of things done for us. Plus, there's that extremely likely chance that one of our running backs goes down with an injury, so having a guy like this to come in as a backup and, still give him good minutes no matter what would be nice. But yeah, I will for sure be doing a video on him in the future, and I think he would be a really nice addition to the Detroit Lions. Looking at the rest of the Detroit Lions draft picks, there's still so many more, and there's still 2 more second-round picks that we can use, and that's what I really like about that Houston trade. Now, there's a couple different ways that the Detroit Lions could go with the rest of our second-round picks. The positions of need are pretty much taken care of, but if you still look at that cornerback spot, there still seems like there's a hole there, even with taking 1 corner in the draft. That's why I think the Lions will take another corner. Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State is someone who really caught my attention, and I'm kind of surprised that he's being looked at as a second-rounder. This guy has the most pick sixes in all of FBS. He's a lockdown corner with great speed and ball skills. Just from watching a few clips of this guy, you can easily see how good he's going to end up being. He's a hard hitter. He's a ball-hawking corner, kind of like a Kirby Joseph. He's just going to be a guy that creates turnovers and big plays. He also plays in the SEC, which I know nowadays is a big deal, and he's probably the 2nd or 3rd best corner in the SEC, so it's pretty impressive to me. It's just really fun to watch this guy. He knows what he's doing. You can tell he's got what it takes to be a corner in the NFL. He's just a guy that's going to end up being a playmaker for us on defense, and that's a guy that the Lions need. They need someone that's going to create turnovers and big plays so that, the offense can get back out on the field. I mean, personally, I wouldn't even mind taking this guy in the 1st round, but I would not be surprised to see him make the jump into the 1st round when it comes down to draft day. I mean, the stats are there, the film's there, and even the body's there. He's pretty big for a corner, and I would be really excited to get this guy. He would more than likely be a day 1 starter and immediately make an impact on this team. And yeah, it would really improve the Lions defense, especially getting a guy that's a well-rounded corner like him. It would just make the Lions defense so much better. And by the way, if you were wondering, he has 6 pick sixes in his career, 3 on the season, and he's only a junior, which means that he's still got room to improve, room to grow, so that just makes it even more exciting. And when you watch him, you can kind of see that he's one of those kind of gritty guys that just, hard hitter, hard worker. He's disciplined. He's just a perfect fit for the Detroit Lions, and I could easily see this guy fall into the Detroit Lions. And I'll definitely make a video eventually on this guy, kind of breaking down some of the film like I'm going to do with the other guys that I've done so far, but there's really nothing not to like about this guy. I mean, he's really well disciplined. He's just got everything you need, and just by watching him, you can see how good he is. And one of my favorite things about him is his ability to make open field tackles, kind of like that right there, and just blow people up. He is just such a good hitter. He's super aggressive, and I really like that about him. And if this guy can come in, give the Detroit Lions a couple interceptions, lock down on the outside, and just be a really well-disciplined guy, this guy's definitely going to be a starter for us, and he's going to make a huge impact on our team. We've now gotten through the first 4 picks of my mock draft, and now we're on to our last 2nd-round pick. Basically, from here on out, I'm probably not really going to show any more highlights of anyone. I'm just going to kind of talk about them, what I like about them, maybe something they can improve on, but let's keep going. With the 59th pick of the NFL draft, I have the Detroit Lions selecting Mozzie Smith out of the University of Michigan, and boy, is this guy one physical specimen. A huge reason for the success of Michigan's defense this year, who I believe was top 5 in the country. And by the way, I'm a huge Michigan State fan, so it definitely takes a lot to say I'd want to draft a Michigan player, but this guy is just everything you would want in a defensive tackle. I don't think that you would need to worry about this guy's size. He is called the freak of college football, and honestly, the only thing that you would have to worry about is whether or not this guy's going to be fast enough to take down the quarterback or chase down a running back. I mean, he really doesn't need to chase down a running back, but just be able to clog the middle so that the running back can't get a big run. But honestly, I mean, all this guy really needs to do is do what he's doing right here, bat down some passes, get a quarterback rush, and then put the running back in the dirt. He's an athletic freak, so you really don't need to worry about this guy's speed, but yeah, this guy he would be a huge upgrade to the interior and definitely could go along with Bugs to be a huge guy inside. I'm really not sure where this guy's going to end up getting drafted because I've seen some where he goes 3rd round, but if we could get him in the 2nd round, I'd be very happy with that pick. Next up, we have the 3rd round pick, which is the 81st pick, and I have the Lions taking Jair Brown out of Penn State. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I've heard people pronounce it different ways, but this guy, man, I just kind of recently started watching his highlights, and this guy reminds me so much of Kirby Joseph. The dude is a ball-hawking safety. He had 9 interceptions in his career at Penn State, along with 3 forced fumbles. He also had 6 interceptions just this year. I'm not really sure if this guy would end up falling to the 3rd round, but I literally looked up a mock draft looking at who would fall to the 3rd, 4th round, and the first guy I seen was Jair Brown, and I was so excited when I saw him because this is exactly the guy that I would want. In my opinion, he's probably like the second or third best safety. I mean, right behind like Brian Branch from Alabama. But this guy is just so good. He's a little on the shorter side, only 5'11", but he's big and he is a hard hitter as well. So this guy would be a huge addition to the Detroit Lions defense. Obviously, after Tracy Walker went down this year, we needed another guy to step up, which Kirby Joseph did. So to have another guy to go along there, and also this guy I think can play corner as well. So just to have him go out there and we can use him would be really nice. Next up, we have the 5th round pick, and I have a guy in mind who I'd want to take here. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is a guy who I kind of just fell in love with out of UCLA, and if you watch this guy's highlights, you would be insanely impressed with some of the things that this guy can do. This dude was actually a Heisman frontrunner for quite a while this year. He's not as big as a guy like Anthony Richardson, but this dude is so freaking fast, and he hurdles dudes, he stiff arms dudes. He's an aggressive runner, but at the same time, he's a really accurate passer, and he doesn't have the best deep ball, which I think he can develop, and I think he does have in him. I've seen him throw a couple 40, 50-yard bombs that are pretty dang accurate, and honestly, you don't need him to throw 40 yards downfield. As long as he can throw somewhat accurate, you know he's got it in him to throw at least 40 to 50 yards, but as long as he throws accurate, it's really all that matters. I'm surprised that his QBR is as low as it is, because this guy is a 70% completion percentage kind of a guy who threw over 3,000 yards this year. I think some of those might be rushing. I'm not 100% sure, but at the same time, this guy, you know, he's thrown for 27 touchdowns, or I don't know if some of those are rushing or what, but this guy has it in him to be a good guy, and I know the Lions don't need a quarterback, and that's why we're taking one in the 5th round to be a backup, because the Lions definitely do need a backup quarterback, and who knows, this guy could easily turn into a starter by year 3 or 4 and turn into kind of like a Geno Smith, but a little bit younger and a little bit faster, and I would totally be fine with that. Geno Smith has had a really good year this year. And again, we've already filled out all of our position of needs on defense, and then this is a 5th round pick, so you're not wasting a pick. And I think he has great potential to be a starter one day, and he just looks good to me. He looks fun to watch, and I think he'd do well with his offense. And we do need a backup quarterback, so yeah, I'd be fine with this guy. Now, I'm sure that with the Houston Texans trade, we'd probably get a couple more picks, but I'm not really going to focus on those because I don't know where they'd be. So I'm just going to do the last 2 picks for the Detroit Lions. And with the first 6th round pick, I have the Lions taking Jayden Reed from Michigan State University. And now I know this is going to be biased, and I really don't care because there's nothing you can do that can convince me that this guy is not going to be a good NFL receiver. The speed is there, the athleticism is amazing, and after watching this guy the last 2 years, he's easily my favorite player, and it sucks that he had to end on such a bad note after such a great junior season. But this guy is he's so good. And the thing with Jayden Reed is that he is a special teams monster. He's the best punt returner in the country. He was even last year probably too. This guy he just takes it to the house almost every time. And I know we have Khalif Raymond, so we probably wouldn't even need to use him there. But either way, you could throw him in at kick return, slot receiver. You can put him at the outside, and this guy will go up and get it over any corner in the NFL. He's really special, and I would love to see this guy come to Detroit. You saw that span during the Detroit Lions season where they were without guys like Amon-Ra, Chark, and, even, James Williams the whole year. And Goff struggled to throw, because he's throwing to guys like Quintez Cephas and Khalif Raymond and Tom Kennedy. And although those guys really aren't that bad for backups, this guy would be an elite guy to have out on the outside and use him as a backup receiver. And I would love to see this guy get some action because this guy can get it done. He's really good. If you go watch highlights of him, you'll fall in love with him. He's special, and I would love to see him. But seriously, go watch highlights of this guy. He just goes up and gets it over everyone. He's so athletic. It's crazy. And I know it's unlikely we get a Michigan guy and a Michigan State guy in the same draft, but who knows? Now, for the last pick of the draft, I think this guy is going to be a guy that you can all agree with me would be an awesome pick for the Lions. Jake Moody out of the University of Michigan. Oh my goodness. As a Michigan State fan, this is by far my favorite Michigan player ever. And I know he's just a kicker, but my goodness, is he good. I mean, watching him kick that 60-yard field goal basically in the playoffs, and it would have been good from 70. The Lions have had issues at kicker for, basically 2 years now. Ever since Prater left, we've kind of had issues there. And Badgley was actually pretty good for us this year, but Jake Moody he'd be like basically a top 3 kicker. He's like a Justin Tucker. We already have Jack Fox, so getting a guy like this would just make this special teams unit awesome, and I would be really excited for this guy. He's definitely the best kicker in college, and I'd probably kill myself if we got the Ohio State kicker who ruined Ohio State's chance at a national championship. And obviously, we're not going to put the blame all on that guy. He's a great kicker, but that was a pretty rough kick. But either way, Jake Moody, he would never miss. He's the GOAT. And again, you're getting this guy, you know, late 6th round. He would just be a good addition to the special teams unit. He would solve your problem at kicker. You know, Badgley has been on and off. He's missed a couple big kicks this year. And Jake Moody's had a pretty good track record for making big kicks last time I checked. So I would love this guy. He is one of my favorite guys. But yeah, so that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. This is my first video, so please feel free to leave a like, comment, obviously. Comment any tips or suggestions you've got for me because, you know, there's a lot of things I know I can improve, so let me know. But yeah, feel free to leave your opinions in the comments. Try and keep it nice, you know, and this is just for fun and just kind of coming up with stuff that I think would be awesome for the Lions. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.